You go to a fancy restaurant and tell you this long story about how they've cooked this piece of fish in clarified butter at 42 degrees for 6 hours, and that for me is not interesting. I'm interested more in what the farmers had for breakfast. When you start to unpick the person behind the food, you find the story of the food, of the ingredient. My name's Ben Bailey, I'm a chef. I'd like to see New Zealand famous for food.
Was that really the reason behind why you created a New Zealand food story?
My kids ask me, Dad, what's our culture? When I start to think about it, like over the last 10 years about what New Zealand food is, you go, we've got no legacy. We're a food producing nation.
If we're looking, 10, 15 years down the track, what's that legacy you're looking to build? Welcome to another episode of From the Soil Up podcast. Today's special guest is Ben Bailey. I'm very excited to have Ben on today. I've watched his show for a long time and I've been an avid follower.
Oh, thank you.
And this conversation is something that I really wanted to bring to the listeners because a lot of farmers want to connect with the customer and the people who are cooking their food and delivering that. And there's no better person than Ben. His show really highlights New Zealand producers and food growers. So today I'm really excited to have this chat, dig into a bit more about Ben, what he does, and why he likes to champion New Zealand food as well. So how are you today, Ben?
Good, mate. Thanks for having me. What a nice intro. Appreciate it.
I'm actually absolutely thrilled to be here. Your restaurants have been at the top of my list to go and eat at, so I'm excited to be here and be at one right now. It's a beautiful setting. So, Ben, chefs carry a lot of, I guess you could say, cultural influence. People trust you with their palates when they come in here, and you could say you influence their values as well around the food that you're growing.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Do you feel a bit of a responsibility to use that platform to shift how New Zealanders think about their food and the way it's grown?
Yeah, it's a good question. When we talk about New Zealand food, we don't have a long history of humanity living in New Zealand. You think about Italy, France, Spain. These guys have had tens of thousands of years of humans walking a land, and out of this is erupting these different types of cuisine, and these countries are so close together, and somehow that culture didn't cross a border. And so I'm all about New Zealand food and what is New Zealand cuisine. And so when I start to think about it, like over the last 10 years about what New Zealand food is, you go, we've got no legacy. We've got no history. Sure, Māori came between 800 and 1,000 years ago, and Abel Tasman came in the late 1600s, Cook in the 1700s, and we could have been Dutch, we could have been French even. They were on their way here too, but the Brits beat them to it. So for a couple of hundred years, that's how old we are. And so we don't have these regional dishes that are phenomenal, like beef bourguignon, or I don't know, and bolognese, or you think about all those dishes from overseas. So where do you hang your hat? And so it comes down to, for me, it comes down to the people, and it comes down to the ingredients those people grow. So that was sort of it's just like a natural thing. And so what stories do we tell in the restaurant? We tell the stories of the people who grow the food. We don't really talk about what we do. I find it quite boring, actually. You go to a fancy restaurant and they're telling you how amazing the chef is and how intricately they've prepared the food, and they tell you this long story about how they've cooked this piece of fish in clarified butter at 42 degrees for 6 hours, and that for me is not interesting. I'm interested more in what the farmers had for breakfast, why the hell he gets out of bed every day, or she, why it's so hard, their jobs, and when you start to unpick the person behind the food, you find the story of the food, of the ingredient, and that often is where the dishes come from. Like you might be with a farmer or a grower or a fisher or a forager or a hunter, and they'll be talking about a story from their childhood, and so you get this provenance of the place you're at. I mean, one time we were hunting wallaby in the Hunter Hills, and we were just talking about how we're going to cook this wallaby that I just shot, and there are bloody pests down there, and we crossed a stream. There was a rock in the stream. We were talking about a fire and cooking it over the fire, and I picked up this rock and I took it back, and we've built a fire, and I put the rock in the middle of the fire, and I literally shaved the wallaby and like grilled it straight on this rock, like a little, and then we did that dish here. We recreated that here. Waiters are carrying this bloody red hot rock out. It was so stupid, but it was fun, and then the customers got this red hot rock on the table and they're trying to, with tweezers, take this sliver of wallaby and grill it on the rock. Like stuff like that happens. And what's the creative process? How do you come up with a new dish? Do you like scroll through social media and steal an idea from someone? Because that's what everyone does in the restaurant industry. And so I like to detach myself from that and look at the people I'm working with, look at the people who are growing the food, and you have this sort of collaboration of ideas. And that for me is New Zealand food. And the byproduct of that is that you're heroing the producers. And so that just happened without me actually realizing it.
That episode was quite interesting to me because that's close to where I grew up and where I farmed.
Oh, really?
And we didn't eat a lot of wallaby, but it is a real pest.
It's a yummy thing.
I've had it in nachos, wallaby nachos.
Oh, yeah.
In the mince, that was quite good. And there was a joke growing up that one of my other farming friends wanted to create jumping jerky, which was use wallaby and create jerky out of it. It hasn't come to fruition, but it's like one of those underused resources that is spreading everywhere.
That's the word I like to use. It's a resource that's been living rent-free in New Zealand for too long, uncontrolled, and if it has been controlled, it's been shot and left out and, it hasn't been brought back. So when you think about eating healthy food, and wild food is obviously, through natural selection of the strength of the animal, only the strongest survive. So you're going to have the most healthiest animals, the most biodynamic, organic, the most healthy protein probably a human can eat. And often they're a real pest. And so when you talk about a lot of things we uncovered in the show is farmers diversifying their income and having a hunting operation as well as a farm, or maybe being able to harvest wild meat and getting that processed, and then all the rules and regulations around that is difficult. We've got to make it easier for. So always other little stories come out. Oh, why can't I buy that from you? That deer that's running wild on your farm.
Yeah.
Why can't there's a deer coming out of the bush or a pig coming out, or goats, or why can't? Oh no, we can't because regulations and this, that, and the other thing. And there's a lot to do in New Zealand. You start to unravel this crazy story, and every story has a million points to it, and it's just so fun to talk about it. And as well, you talk about a food story, but unless what New Zealand food story is or what our cuisine is, but you can't really talk about it unless you go there. And so having the opportunity or carving out an opportunity for myself to be able to showcase the suppliers, educate our guests, and educate our staff. Really, restaurants can be quite transactional. You come in, what would you like, sir? And you order it, but I want to see our staff passionate about the ingredient, passionate about, and passion sells. That's what sells. And where does passion come from? Well, they've got to have the confidence to be passionate, and the confidence comes from knowledge. So the knowledge piece is very important for us. And we're Kiwis too. I don't like talking about myself really. And you want to, showcase what other people do. And that's how I feel.
Well, unfortunately, now I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself for those who are listening that aren't familiar with who you are and what you do, Ben.
Oh, okay, yep. Well, my name's Ben Bailey. I'm a chef. Own a few restaurants in Auckland and Queenstown. And I was born in Te Awamutu and grew up in the town. And my dad worked at Fonterra had one job his whole life, and worked at Te Awamutu Dairy Factory. And we grew up in a little sort of bungalow which was owned by the dairy factory, and my mum and dad brought it off them. And so we were real close to that. And then the other side of my dad's family were farmers, dairy farmers, my pop, my uncle and aunties. And so, that's a great place to grow up. And then from there, I always wanted to be a farmer, actually. That was it. But I just loved cooking at school and fell into the industry got a job washing dishes at the local restaurant, went to the Waikato Polytech, and then I pissed off overseas. And I worked I had some great advice, and some of that a great chef I worked for said to me, just work at the best restaurant in the city that you live in. And I was like 18 when I got that advice, right? So at that point, that's what I did. So I went to Melbourne, went to Las Vegas, went to London, spent a long time in France, back to London, and then came home sort of 9 years later. And while I was away, I was cooking other people's food, other people's cuisines. And, you're in nearly 4 years in France, and you're seeing this amazing food culture, full stop. Like, you're traveling through Italy, and town to town, the food's different. And of course, you don't know what your own culture is actually until you go away. My kids ask me, Dad, what's our culture? It's like culture day at school. And I'm like, I don't know, wear a Chiefs jersey. Yeah. Like, I don't know what to wear. They've got to dress up. If you're a Polynesian kid or a Māori kid, they can wear their traditional, but Pakeha don't really have that connection. You can't say you're British or Irish if you've been here for 9-10 generations, So, and then, so I say to my kids, when you leave and you go overseas and you spend time there, not just holiday, but a long time in one place, you'll start to compare the differences. And I did that with food. And so I'm like, what is New Zealand food? What is our cuisine? And then there's some amazing chefs like Ferran Adrian in Spain sort of invented molecular gastronomy. And then Rene Redzepi sort of created this, went to his Viking roots, did this Nordic cuisine. And you see these people doing stuff overseas and you're like, oh, wow, I wonder what are our dishes? Is it like pies, fish and chips? Is it a Leamington? Is it a pavlova? Most of the time fighting over Australia if it's their dish or ours. So what are our regional dishes? What is our national dish? Nearly 10% of our economy is built around tourism. Like what is it? So that's sort of just been like a little personal crusade, and it gives you a lot of direction. Like, otherwise you're sort of, well, how do you get inspired? And so, that's what I've been doing. And the cool thing is that if you open a French restaurant in New Zealand, you got all the French will come here and tell you you're doing it wrong. Yeah. But if you're doing New Zealand food because it hasn't really been done before, no one could tell me I'm wrong. So it gives you this freedom and it's quite liberating. Yeah. You're complaining we don't have a legacy. Or not complaining, you're acknowledging we don't have this long history or legacy, but at the same time, because we don't have that, you're not constrained by it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting one, because I have conversations around we need to build kind of this provenance for New Zealand, and whether that's as the country as a whole, or do we try to create something like, champagne, but we do it with our lamb, start building that as our story.
I think, every product will have a different piece there, but we did a story on a farm in Central Otago near Ranfurly, and in 2023, I believe, Australia had a big drought, culled all their lamb. So they flooded the international market with lamb. Because they did that, the lamb prices here fell away, basically. And, farmers didn't have enough diesel to couldn't buy diesel for their tractors. They were just totally screwed. And so what I understood when I heard the story was that we hadn't told our lamb story well enough. Because really people overseas should know that New Zealand lamb is superior to Australian lamb, and it is. And so we just need to do better at communication, I think, and you've got NZTNE and you've got all these other, they are doing a great job with this. So we just got to tell our story better and not be so humble sometimes, That's part of the problem, I think, is we are too humble to actually sing from the rooftops about this incredible environment that we grow in, the way we grow in our food, the low cost and efficiency and environmental impact that we have with a lot of the way we bring our food to market. It's something I get frustrated at. It's like, we should be really singing this from the rooftops because we are really good. When you were chefing, as you
all around, I guess, Europe and that. What did the other chefs that you were working with think of New Zealand? Did they have any understanding of what we grew or how the sort of food we...
Not particularly. Like, you know, like the New Zealand dairy company at the time before Fonterra, Dad had a T-shirt and it said "Anchors, butters, butters better," and it had the anchor man, you know, on there.
Yeah.
And that was my favorite T-shirt that Dad used to wear. And I couldn't say it when I was a kid. I would say butter, 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 butter. It was like Dad always gives me shit about it now. And so I went overseas and I thought, well, Anchors, butters, buttered better. This is the best butter in the world. And our lamb is. And then you go to France and you taste handmade butter, like literally crazy good.
Yeah.
So you'll see New Zealand lamb at the time. This was, you know, nearly 15 years ago. New Zealand lamb shanks in the Carrefour, the supermarché, the big hypermarkets they have, be in those open top freezers in the supermarket, and it'll be in the corner, it'll be the cheapest lamb in there. And that made me think, like, well, it's not the lowest quality. It's there because obviously farmers in New Zealand often are price takers, not makers, and not makers because they're not telling the story. And also understanding, you know, that, you know, overseas there's some real niche markets of lamb, like the Welsh salt marsh lamb or Pyrenean lamb, milk-fed lamb, you know, all these things are really, really, really luxury ingredients and high value. So the story adds value to products. And if you're not going to tell a story about what you're doing, then you sell it for less. That's just in my business, in anyone's business, I believe. And so, there's those points, like you say, like the environments that our food are grown in are just so freaking incredible. And then you'll see, you know, a big feedlots in America with beef on it that they just, not that I really have a problem with that. What I'm saying is it's just living a different life. And it's even rare, actually. We think grass-fed's, it's normal here, but overseas, grass-fed in a lot of country is not normal. So we've got to hang our hats on certain parts of that, you know, and
Yeah, it's an interesting one. And most people who've never had grass-fed meat think it tastes terrible because they're just used to that, you know, grain-fed, and that's just all they've experienced. So it's an interesting one.
Yeah, well, you live in America, and grain-fed butter is white.
Yeah.
But grain-fed meat has yellow fat.
Yeah.
And in New Zealand, it's the opposite. And so it really tastes different. You know, it's really, grass-fed meat is beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Did you ever feel maybe compelled to set up your restaurants overseas to try and tell that story, or was it always the gold compelling?
Yeah, reason why I roll my eyes there is because I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
And like, we did a pop-up in Shanghai in November.
Cool.
Last year. And, you know, and my business partner here is, believe it or not, Australian.
Yeah.
And I lived in Melbourne, he's from Melbourne, so, maybe we could open an here in Melbourne. Or we went to Shanghai, maybe we did a month there, took over a hotel on the Bund in Shanghai, just about killed us. And so I was like broken. I came home broken. We actually filmed it. It's on the next series of Food Story.
Yeah.
And it was so freaking hard. And so every time I open a restaurant, I just forget how freaking hard it is. And then we sort of came to the conclusion at the end of it, after thinking we should open overseas. LA, I'd love to open in LA, right? Let's just jump on a plane and go to LA. But the reality is what we do, I believe, only works because it's here. And Kiwis want to know what their food is. They want that direction, or would like to see an example of, so they can start to build up, you know, their own views and mind on it. And people that come from overseas, the first thing you do when you travel, I'll speak for myself, but I reckon first thing, you get off the plane, you land in Bangkok, the first thing you want to do is eat some Thai food, right? That's happening here. People get off the plane and they want to eat New Zealand food, and where the hell is it? So we've got enough to do there, and I've got enough to do here. And without sort of getting getting ahead of myself, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm very much the same. I think about 50% of my trips overseas, half the time it's just trying to eat the food, all in different places and experience it and see what it's all about. What would you say is, if you could pick a dish that kind of represents New Zealand?
Oh God,
what would you go with?
Yeah, so you would. My favorite ingredient, let's say top 3.
Yeah.
So I'm rambling a little bit. You might have to.
No, it's a hard choice.
I reckon abalone power is my top 3. So you know, you'd have to have a power dish. You'd have to have a lamb dish, and you'd want to hang your hat on something that spoke to New Zealand, maybe sort of like a edible, sort of like pika pika or hururu whenua, one of those kawa kawa, the medicinal / horapito type things. I'd definitely be bringing that in. And yeah, it's sort of one of those, we do a Longestine hot dog here, like a scampi hot dog, which is, you know, with, I mean, that's super Kiwi because it reminds me of my childhood going to the rugby and or any time going to a fish and chip shop. I never had fish. I always got a hot dog.
Yeah.
You know, and so then I lived in America and I realized that our hot dogs suck. And they do really good corn dogs. And so now with, you know, with what is corn and, you know, buttermilk and, you know, in New Zealand seafood, I can make something that's really nostalgic to me and means a lot to me, but it's something that's so silly, like fast food for adults, also that luxury version of fast food, and people just eat it and go, they just order another one. So when you think about a dish that is going to be famous or whatever, it's got to be like that. You finish it, you want to order it again.
Yeah.
It's got to mean so much. Like you think about Burgundy and the wine that's grown in Burgundy, and then the beef that's grown in Burgundy, and you have a beef bourguignon, or you go to Bresse and near Dijon, and they're famous for their chickens and morels, and then their yellow wine, their vin jaune. So you kind of, there's things that are grown in the same region, and they all of a sudden, probably because back in the day it was, you know, and there's not a lot of moving around, they started to create dishes and people just started to make them all the time, and that was just the staple once a week or something, right? That is not a reality in the globalization of the world now for us. Like we don't have that isolation and lack of movement to create something like that. So when you analyze how a world-class or famous dish has come about, it's not come about recently, right? So it's come about by time and lack of movement and 3 or 4 things that are grown in the same neck of the woods, you know. So we'll have to be clever about that. And then I'm not answering a question on purpose, by the way. On top of that,
it's a hard question.
We're a country built on immigration, migration. So every time people come here, they're bringing this flavor from where they're from. And that was dominated by the Brits for a long time, and now you're seeing all cultures here, 150 languages spoken in Auckland, you know. And we need to allow highly qualified people to come to New Zealand to help us grow as a country. That's something that does need to happen. People with money and people with skills. So the face of New Zealand, I feel, will change, and there's in the city, we see that every day.
Yeah,
I'm rambling. You gotta be careful. You ask one question.
No, they're good questions, because it is a hard one to define. Like I don't think I'd be able to define one meal that kind of represents New Zealand. I feel like we've done a better job of talking, like selling, like the wine industry is better at talking about the provenance of the different regions, but we don't do it so well. Like you could do a Canterbury lamb, or the venison should be a great story as well.
Of course.
Everyone else thinks we're mad around the world that we farm deer, and it's such a great opportunity to build that market.
it is mad
Yeah.
because there's so many wild deer, yet we still farm it. I'm like,
Yeah. And
but it still works. I'm not complaining. But you know, and thanks for bringing up the wine industry, because although they're having their turn at being doing it tough at the moment, and it feels every sort of food sector has its turn. It's just, I'm glad it doesn't happen at the same time, but with other parts of the food industry. But the wine industry, what have they done? They've told their story bloody well, eh? A New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc from Marlborough, I don't drink it, but I tell you what, we've got the best New World winemakers and the best New World terroir in the world here. And with our long sort of country that covers many latitudes, we can grow anything, any grape variety, but also any food. So this little place on the arse end of the world that we always complained about as kids, and we always thought Americans didn't know where we are if they on the map, was probably true. But you know, now it's become our greatest asset, right? Our isolation is sort of a real beautiful thing. And if New Zealand ran long ways, for whatever reason, not covering those latitudes, we wouldn't have that as much variety as we did. Somehow we're that way, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I keep saying we live in like one of the best climates, like that diversity within this small country for growing all sorts of food.
Yeah.
We are very lucky, and I think we don't actually appreciate it until you go to other countries and see what they're dealing with and what they're growing in.
Yeah.
It's very surprising. You're quite a good champion around, obviously, our growers and producers. You've mentioned it a few times. Was that really the reason behind why you created a New Zealand food story?
Yeah, I think it's more it's a good question. When I wanted to document the process to build my own knowledge, but also the knowledge of our guests and our customers, and our guests and our staff, and you know, get really concise with what message we're sending, and it just made a lot of sense. And I'd done a bit of TV stuff before, stuff I didn't like the MKR reality stuff. I mean, I liked it. Hey, I'm not complaining, but it's so fake, right? And it's just sort of a different type of reality. And you know, like it's mad that we would go there and try to glean all this information. And I wanted people everyone takes a different bit of information, and how their brain processes it will come out with a different story about the experience. So if I could get that person in front of a camera and them to tell their story, I'd take what I got out of it. Someone else would, you know, take what they got, you know, and all of a sudden everyone's able to tell their own version of what happened versus them telling their knowledge is based on what my experience was. So yeah, that was kind of awesome. And the crazy thing about that is that when we were filming the first series and we got locked in with the first lockdown, and the Monday when the end of the first lockdown, on the Monday we opened the restaurant and we filmed the last episode, and everything had been edited, it went out, and so no Kiwis could travel really. And you know, next minute it's like there's a New Zealand documentary about New Zealand food, and there's a New Zealand restaurant opening, and no one can bloody travel, and so everyone came and supported us. And so it was so lucky, you know, timing. Sometimes you make your own luck too, I do believe in that, but it was sort of like I felt so blessed, and it really you know, gave us a lot of purpose in those dark days.
Yeah, sometimes you get that kind of universal timing, and it's like, I'll just trust this. You obviously got to put your energy out into it and make things happen, but sometimes it's like everything just lines up. So the food story thing was very holistic. It wasn't like it was planned. It was like, sounds good, let's do it. You know, there was no sort of like inner like secret or something like that. It was just a progression from other TV stuff into something that I really wanted to do, you know. So it's going across, you know, 80 countries, I think it is now. And we've talked about what is the New Zealand food culture. Do you get feedback from going to those other countries and what people are saying about it?
Yeah. Like lots of positive stuff from Australia.
Okay.
It was on the airlines for a while.
Yeah.
And that was like amazing because people were watching a New Zealand food story and as they're flying into New Zealand, there might be like an hour that we're having breakfast when you land early in the morning, and you don't, it's not enough time to put a movie on or whatever, and they're just like flicking through and they saw this show, and then we had people coming to the restaurant. It was awesome. So there's been a lot of great feedback from everywhere. Like it's so random. And there's been negative feedback too. Like we had a Sweden pulled it because a few people complained. I don't know a few, but they said someone complained that we were hunting.
Oh.
And I'm like, in Sweden, aren't they Vikings? I was like, don't they do that, aren't they? So I don't know what that was about, but the international distributor said that, and I was kind of quite taken back by that actually. But yeah, so no, it's been awesome. It's been actually quite a proud thing for us to be able to achieve that.
Yeah, I seriously enjoy it. Obviously, probably why I've got you on here, but I've definitely watched it on the plane, and I think there is a role for that as someone is coming into New Zealand. It kind of gives you a bit more of a feel about what we do here 100%. In our food. And like you say, it flows into then coming into the restaurant to actually taste basically New Zealand as well. So it is really cool to see that it is going globally as well, because it is telling that story and it does a great job of that. Do you have any like favourite producers or stories that you've shared on there?
Yeah, lots.
Yeah.
Some of them are random, but the only true cranberry grower in Westland.
Yeah.
And they were struggling business-wise. They sent us an email after the show came out and they'd sold out of all their product. It just like made me cry, their email. So that was a real amazing people. And we're actually down there filming a Monteith's story. We love doing a bit of beer and a bit of wine and stuff as well. And my grandmother's her maiden name's Monteith. And so it just said when we're down there and we just found this cranberry farm, and they had this old a lot of people don't know how cranberries grow. Yeah. And in sort of America, they'll flood the fields, and you can't do that in New Zealand, but they'll flood the fields and the cranberries are like a tiny little apple with these air pockets in it, and they float. And that's how they harvest them. But they had this old sort of machine they got out of Massachusetts, and they'd pull along, and an old sorter, like a big piano thing, and it was amazing. And they're actually very short season, but we buy them and we freeze them. So we'll buy like 100 kilos and freeze them, and then we take them from frozen, a little bit of olive oil, and we put them right in the coals in a sieve, and we barbecue them, and then that goes into like a venison sauce, like a sauce for some meat. So there's that random stuff, and people say New Zealand cranberry, which is actually a little guava, those little. So it was kind of good to clarify a few things there. I loved Martini beef and lamb.
Yeah, that was one of my favourites as well.
The reason why I love them was because they're selling direct to retail and restaurants, and they've skipped the whole. They get all their meat back from the abattoir, and then they sell it. And although that's hard, but they're able to control the price. That the price makers, not takers at that point. I think Jamie from Martini was saying that like 24% of New Zealand beef is marble score 4 and above. They're like 84%. So this is a true case, and you, as a chef, you judge your meat on marble score and all these things, but marble fat content is a big part of it. So you're getting a farmer who's actually getting paid properly for doing a good job. Where if you've got and I could be wrong here, but this is a layman speaking about the beef industry, but there could be farmers doing good job, not so, I don't know, like this, they're not really focused on the quality, they're focused on doing volume. And So here's a classic case of a farmer getting rewarded for excellence. And I'll text him like, you have him a conversation. I mean, this is the best lamb rump. I'm texting him, this lamb rump is so freaking good. And I'm just texting him this the other day, and it's like 9 o'clock at night. He's, texting me back, and I'm like literally on the grill. Like, that's cool, man. Like, love that story.
I do love what Jamie's doing here as well. The passion, you can see the passion coming through for what they do.
Yeah.
And I've wanted to try one of is it the Argentinian cut of meat? Is it?
Oh, picanha?
Yeah, I've wanted to try one of those
Brazilian,
ever since I saw it on your show cooking it, and I was like,
yeah. Well, you think about it, you go to their farm and there's hardly any animals on it. Like the calves are on there with their mum for 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of old school, but it's awesome.
Yeah.
And they sell out. They're like, we only can give you 3 sirloins a week. I'm like, I'm just giving shit. You're like, where's my beef, dude? Like, and so I just think they're a great blueprint for farmers to have a think about it. Although there's a lot of steps in there.
Yeah.
It is easier just to flick your beef to whatever and get your money done. But there are people out there like Nikki and Jamie who are super passionate about what they do, and they want to send their babies off to a place that, that respect has gone all the way through.
Yeah.
So I really love that. I love farms. I love going on farms that diversifying income. High Peak Station in Canterbury. Yep. Those guys were cool. They're from honey to, sheep beef to, and then diving into tourism.
Yeah.
People want to come and they want to have an experience when they come to New Zealand. So we live in these epic locations around the only people seeing the view, or the only things seeing the view, are the animals.
Yeah.
And there could be like a hut somewhere, or some sort of experience that you only can find here. I love those sort of stories, and where you just don't want to have all your eggs in one basket, because when I go to those places and hear these stories, I believe there's lots to learn. And
yeah, the agro-tourism market is massive, and it's growing globally, not just here, but like you say, we've got these incredible farms, and like the views on some of them, I get blown away. I'm very lucky to go to some awesome places, but to be able to share that with people, and then they can have the steak from there, like that's an experience that someone will remember for the rest of their life.
Yes.
That's pretty epic. How do you go about sourcing like your products and deciding to work with growers? Do you have kind of your own criteria that you work to?
I think there's no real rules. Is it just like you're looking for something that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
And something, first of all, it's got to be super delicious first. I mean, that's sort of number one. And the story is always there. We've just got to ask the questions and tell it.
Yeah.
So yeah, just searching out the excellence, like searching out people that are trying to be better, and producers that are kind of thinking outside of the box as well.
Yeah.
Like using the beef example, it's so hard to find good beef at the moment. Like, it's hen's teeth.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you're taking what you can get a little bit too. But yeah, for me, I'm just open to anything really, and it's my job to work out what to do with it.
Yeah.
So no, there's no rules. Anyone reach out, tell me, please.
Yeah.
Veg is a hard one too. Like since COVID, I see a lot of varieties of vegetables decrease.
Okay.
So people are not doing a test crop of this, or not doing a small run of that. They're doing less variety and more of it because, it's a bit of a safer bet. So definitely, like even we have a garden as well. He's got a 4-acre garden with 6 staff in there. But having said that, it's not we still need more. And another favourite story was the white asparagus, Bill Cummings down in Greenfern and Tamahiri near Cambridge. Yeah. And only white asparagus grower in the country. And his son Hayden does the veg. They're a great example of organics and just growing great stuff. Pretty much sell everything to local markets and then to restaurants. So they're cool people.
Yeah. For I guess farmers or food growers in this space wanting to connect with restaurants and try and diversify their income, Is it just basically about making that connection and then getting the food to them so they can try it, see if it can,
100%, yeah. It's just a bit of legwork.
Yeah.
And a bit of time. And also just identifying the right chefs or restaurants. Like a lot of places just want to order from Bidfood, or, you know, they just want to get their order in and open the packet, and some people don't care.
Yeah.
So there'll be restaurants out there that care a lot. And they show hospitality not only to their guests, but to their suppliers, to their staff all the way through. There's the hospitality piece to live and breathe. And we treat our suppliers like our customers, really. Sometimes you wonder who the customer is it me or them? Like, you know, so yeah, I think it will come. And if people are out there and interested in growing some cool stuff, I'd love to see it, like me personally. And then, and just by getting your foot in the door a few places, you can start to use that as leverage to promote yourself. But then again, people are so busy doing their jobs and on farm and trying to just get by sometimes, and then you got to sort of do a whole other piece of work. But I really believe that I'd like to see anyway that we're buying direct from suppliers as much as possible. And especially when it comes to veg, because you don't have the same restrictions, fruit and veg, you don't have the same restrictions as say like the meat and how we process it and stuff like that. But it's, I mean, gosh, you could buy veg off of anyone really and sell it.
Does it make it complicated for you because you've got multiple restaurants and a lot of suppliers? How do you manage all that? That'd be quite complicated.
Yeah, it is. It's not. It is actually easy. It's pretty good now. Yeah. It's just about sort of with all there's 120 staff over the venue, so it's sort of like making sure. Sometimes I just have to go on and say this is on the menu now, and like getting. Because people are, my team is busy too, so just getting them into the routine of the unknown, where people want to come and do the same thing, and that's be efficient and all that sort of stuff. But then I'm that annoying person that brings in the new products and come on, we got to put this on, come on, you know. So it's that's sort of challenging, but changing the menu, printing the menu, you know, all that sort of stuff, training staff, you know, there's a whole lot of stuff to do before something goes on a menu. A bit of R&D and testing how to cook it, and you know, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so it's not easy, but it's easy because, you know, we've things that people would find hard, we find easy because we've got 100 people booked. We don't know what they're going to eat. You know, they don't tell us what they eat before they come. They sit down and then we find out what they're going to eat. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, that's kind of unreasonable actually.
Yeah,
it's not a good idea.
Yeah, it's clear to you that you're really passionate about that, telling that story all the way through. Is that something you're passionate about with, I guess, the young chefs coming through? Do you teach them about that, or are they genuinely interested in it as well?
Yeah, I guess like we're a step. Every person that works with us, I believe, this restaurant or whatever restaurant is a stepping stone for them in their careers.
Cool.
I frame it like that. Because I'm trying to recall when I was young and what were the drivers for me. And you can come, clock in, clock out, and not be interested, fine. And chase an extra $1 an hour here, $1 an hour here, and keep bouncing around. But you'll hit your limits at some point. But are you going to invest in yourself and the knowledge? Because the knowledge, not only of the ingredient, the mastery of preparation of it, how to extract flavor out of how to get the best out of every ingredient once you have it, the knowledge of the ingredient, how it is grown, you know, how that ingredient works with many others to make a dish, how the reaction on your tongue, your palate, is all trainable. So it doesn't matter how good someone is when they come here. In fact, I like the younger ones that are a bit more, you know, 80% 80% attitude, great attitude, and 20% ability. Do you know what I mean? Like those are the people, because they're the future, the next generation. And our staff door over there at Ahi is the staff door. It's got, you can go take a video of it later. It's the excellence door. Yeah, they come in that effing door, and I say to them, guys, this is your career, this is your life. You're going to come to work today. You could go work somewhere else and get paid $1 more an hour if you want. But if you're going to walk through that door, you're making a promise to yourself. You're going to be a better version of yourself than yesterday. And that's just that. So when they touch something, they acknowledge that. Touch an ingredient, they acknowledge the hard work the farmer has done to get it here. Even getting freaking stuff here in the couriers is hard. You know what I mean? This food has taken this journey from being grown and whatever massive story and variety of stories there, all the way through to the back door, and someone overcooks it or doesn't prepare it right or gets chucked out. Holy, what a beyond sacrilege. And it's not the money piece there. It's the effort that went in to get that thing here is being wasted because of some lack of care. And so getting that sort of installed into people is so important to me, because otherwise, what am I doing? Like it's, I reckon in your 20s, you're sort of I was trying to pack knowledge into my brain. In my 30s, I was, I guess, trying to make a name for myself, trying to get ahead. Now in my 40s, I'm like, what's my legacy? I mean, and my legacy is making sure the knowledge gets passed on and making sure that these people that come through the restaurant, they know how to cook, but also they know how to run a business. All the IP that we've generated from lease to cash up to food costing, all is available to them. And they take that with them because restaurant businesses, chefs are not artists. They have to be good with money as well,
Yeah, we were chatting about that before. I take my hat off to anyone who runs a restaurant. It seems like one of the harder businesses to keep going and for a long period of time. So it's something I probably wouldn't sign up for personally. So I take my hat off to you, especially the way you're doing it.
I think it isn't like I compare the restaurant game to, I don't know, a farmer, I don't know, let's say an onion farmer, I don't know, I think onions take about 6 months to grow, right? You plant these onion seeds and 6 months later you have onions, but you don't know what the price is there. And you don't know what the weather's going to do. It's such a big risk to me. I find that more risky. Growing a crop for me, feels riskier than a restaurant. We buy in food, we make it, jazz it up, and we sell it for a small profit. And we take the money before people leave. So we've got the money, right? So at that point, no matter how much money you have taken, you just have to make sure that your cost of goods, your labor costs, and your overheads do not go over 100%. And of course, take the GST off the revenue first. But it's like, restaurants are easy if you're watching it every day. You just have to watch the numbers every day. You see the money coming in, you see how much you spent. And every week you have deep analysis of that for a couple of hours, and you compare it to the week before, you compare it to the year before. Then you look at, we also have a reservation system, which is now, the systems are getting better and better, and people are not calling anymore, which takes up a lot of time for staff, but they book online, that's open 24 hours a day. And so you can kind of forward plan that revenue. You can see how busy we are. You can see at the moment we're in a quiet time. So I'm like, everyone, and they've had plenty of warning, but guys, it's time to take holidays. This is the time, your leave builds up, and making sure they're rested. And so that sort of management is required every week and pretty much every day we talk about it between the team, and there's buy-in from everybody, from our senior people. So if you're doing that, you know what's coming. And you're adjusting, and your restaurant game is a knee-jerk reaction, but you got to have it, which is always seen as a negative in a negative sense. But you got to have a calculated knee-jerk reaction to make sure you don't make the wrong decision by making it quickly, but you make a quick decision because you have to. If you're losing money, you need to stop that very quickly. So I think people get into the restaurant game without that sort of experience of that, and you've got to go through those hard times too to learn that yourself. There's no rule book for this. So I find that actually quite, because I know it too, quite safe. And but also, it's challenging because we get every customer that comes in here is a food critic, and they're able to write those their thoughts online at any point in time. And so I also feel we're sort of a really highly regulated industry by our customers. And imagine that, like, every day you're on farm or doing something, and everyone who's tasting your product has got something to say about you personally.
Yeah.
So that's
we call it farming in a fishbowl, but it's definitely not as bad as every day getting told whether the food's good or not from someone.
Yeah. That's why I put, hey, Jamie's Martini beef. I'm like, look, you know what the beef is. Here's Jamie's phone number.
Yeah, you can find him online. It wasn't my fault. Sorry, Jamie.
Love you, Jamie.
Yeah. It seems like culture is quite important to you in terms of the business and the people here.
It's everything now, yep. I come from the Gordon Ramsay kitchens of Europe, and where you sort of feel you go to war every day, really, at work. But I loved it, thrived in it. And that was a generation ago. And one of my greatest fears is becoming a dinosaur. And when you lose touch, I've got 3 teenage kids, so that I look at them sometimes and I'm like, this is my kid, like, they're just so different. And that is, my eldest daughter works here, we employ a lot of young people, and it's not them who has to adapt to us, we have to adapt to them. Right? And I hate it when people say, back in my day, I used to play rugby and bare feet in the frost, or whatever, and everyone, a lot of old people think that their times were the toughest. And we probably look at these younger people and think that we did it tougher than them. But the reality is the world's changed, right? And it's changing all the time. And when it comes to the old ways of restaurants, there'd be a psycho in the kitchen, or something happening, like crazy shit happening, and how are you supposed to be hospitable to your guest if you don't, if it's, someone's thrown a pan around the back there because something's overcooked, and then the waiter has to walk around and be nice to a guest. I mean, how the hell does that work? You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, and again, younger people, they what I've learned is they really operate on confidence. You want to keep young people's confidence high. They will perform better. And that's, and like, I think that's really important to me. And when we recruit as well, we work hard on that. So we have a tight-knit family of like-minded people. Not everyone is the same, and not everyone's cut out for this job. And you got to have selfless people that love to serve. It's a noble profession. It's to make people happy, makes me happy, so we work on, I've written sort of like a piece around the 6 C's, and you've got to find out whether people care, whether they're competent. So care's easy, do they care about themselves or what they do for a living, or, competency is more like, are they going to show up on time? Are they going to, wonder what their bedroom looks like, or is their clothing ironed? You're judged on how you look, how you present. You get judged, and then so from there it's like character. How are they gonna behave when they work under pressure? When it's busy, not busy. That's the thing. We got to like dial up the intensity, dial it down. You got to like, it gets really busy. We've got to move. I can't tell the guests, oh, sorry, actually, we're not ready, so can you come back tomorrow? Like, you're building a house and the builder's going to be a week late. That's acceptable, right? But we can't tell the guests to come back in a week. It's like happening. They're here. We're cooking. And so how do people behave when shit goes down or gets real tough? You've got to have the right calm people there that will take things in their stride and are able to access, the calmness during stressful periods. So from there, the other 2 C's are, at that point, whatever interview process, if they've got character, they care, and they look competent, you got the job. I don't care what your experience is like. And so then you move over to customers and colleagues. So we treat each other with the same respect. If you get through those 5 C's, you have culture. And so, which gives a lot of freedom for our team to, when they talk to people about, you're just trying to tick those 6 C's off, right? Or 5 C's to get the 6th. So culture within a business it's not woke. It's not, the culture for me is, we never use the word I. It's not about you. It's not about, it's about we, and so people sometimes will come to work and, always wanting something. But the more you give, the more you get. That's the thing that people got to understand. Yeah. The more you give, the more knowledge you get. And so, so that's a really important part to what the culture piece is. But there was a time there where, the woke sort of vibe was happening where we've had staff in the past that think they're more important than our guests. And I look at our guests walking through the front door of our restaurant and I go, it's a fucking miracle they know about us. Holy, look at this person. They found us. They know about us. They walked in our door. That is a treasure. That is a miracle. And if you have that attitude and you look at them and you go, I wonder what you need. Welcome. Can I take your jacket? Come sit down. And, on our menu at Ahi, it says, welcome to our home. Yeah. You've come to our house for dinner. You're not going to have a guest over for dinner and not take their jacket or, you want a beer, mate? Right? You're not going to do that. But how often have you walked into a hospitality venue in New Zealand and you're like, hello, can I please spend some money with you?
Yeah.
Is it okay if I could give you some money?
Yeah.
I'm hungry. And you're kind of like, can we, and even the welcome and little things like that, and being able to read people and how to make people feel comfortable. And so that's all comes from culture. You gotta tell people, give them direction. You gotta tell people what the most important part of their day is. And it's not you've had an argument with your girlfriend and you've come in grumpy mood. That's not here. We care, we can talk about it on the break, but right now we're doing this for these people that have made a journey to come to see us, and we're going to honor that with that journey, that time they're going to come and spend with us, because and we know these days life is busy. If someone has booked a table in your restaurant to spend 3 hours with you, wow, I'm going to show them something now. I'm like, it doesn't work though if I just think that. And so they have to have a buy-in for that, I believe. And yeah,
I love that. And it's obviously flowing through into your restaurant. You wear quite a lot of hats, and we've talked a little bit about legacy. If we're looking, 10, 15 years down the track, what's that legacy you're looking to build?
I think I'd like to see the industry. I'd like to see New Zealand famous for food. Yep. We're a country of nearly 5.5 million, and we make food for 40 million. Food production is 65% of our economy. We're a food producing nation. A lot of these people are working in Auckland right now. They don't even know that. Like city folk just don't understand where their food comes from. So I'd like to see that change. I'd like to see that, how important our food production is in New Zealand. It creates a lot of our wealth and a lot of the great life that we live here, and that is the people outside in the pouring rain every day that's creating that, right? That needs to be acknowledged by the people who live here. And then people from overseas, I'd like to see our cuisine up there with the best. And I'd like to see the Michelin Guide's coming, right? So that's actually going to really help. And that'll be a trickle-down effect to producers as well, because all of a sudden producing say, oh, the Michelin-starred restaurant, they're selling their product overseas to America or whatever, and they're like, well, our product's on in a Michelin-starred restaurant. That standard is the same here and it's the same over there. It's the same all over the world, right? That is a blessing for everybody. And hospitality doesn't get any help really from the government. So for this government right now to be able to do that for us, and Tourism New Zealand to do that for us, means a lot. And with our first hospitality minister, this, Louise Upson, right now, who's been amazing, right? So we're very lucky there with this current government. No one's done more for hospitality, I think. And so I'd like those things to happen. I'd like every beef farmer to be like Jamie from Matangi. That'd make me, that's a dream. But it doesn't really centre around me. I've got my own personal goals of making sure that a lot of the staff that flow through here have used this experience and are going to build on it and do something great. And I'm just going to be old with, going around eating for free at all the...
It's a pretty good longer term goal.
All the old apprentices restaurants. But I just want to see the industry grow.
Yeah.
I want to see front of house I want to see service improve. And I want to see people who run restaurants like front of house being like, that's a great job. Some of these young kids that are at uni, they earn tons of money, You earn heaps of money if you're a good waiter, by God, you can earn a lot of money in a short amount of time. And we've got young people putting themselves through uni, easy, and not working that much either, because they know how to take care of people. And we've got these Americans coming around now, they tip heaps.
Yeah.
Like doubling their wages on tips. So it's a great industry. How do we get more young Kiwis into the industry? Kids at high school, it is such a rewarding industry. People with neurodiversity, it's where people come. It's a place to come if you think differently than others. If you didn't do well at school, this is a great industry for you, because, it's the creative ones, the unusual ones, the neurodiversity, and they don't fit into that school system of high school, whatever, and they struggle, and then they find a home. A lot of kids find a home here, and then they thrive, because hospitality is a different way. Doesn't have the structure. It does have structure, but it doesn't too. You can express yourself, right? So those are the types of things I'd like to see, but it doesn't really, I'd like to see in 100 years' time, we have dishes that New Zealand's famous for. I'd love to see that. So.
That's cool. I love the vision. So I finish all my podcasts with kind of one question that I ask all my guests, which is, what's one belief or principle that keeps you grounded no matter what season you're in?
I just never want to get ahead of myself. I never want to get away from what I do, and I constantly getting pulled many directions, but I want to cook and serve people and make people happy. You know what I mean? And I just want to keep improving there, and everything else is just noise and fun and interesting stuff. But I just want to be, just get back to that and focus on that, and my only competition is the person I was yesterday, and really stay true to some simple things. We're just every day just improving a little bit better, whether it's how I cook or how I train people or how I manage people, how I lead people, how I inspire people, or anything like that. How to be a better father, how I look after myself physically or mentally, and for me that's sort of the core principle, that I just got to make sure that I take care of myself, because if I put my own oxygen mask on first, then the people that are directly connected to me will thrive. And I think when you own a business, or you forget about yourself sometimes, and or you forget about what your core job is, and got to be everything to everybody sometimes, and you can lose sight of what got you here.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point. I'm very aware of that myself. If I want to perform at my best, then I can serve everyone else at my best as well. So put the oxygen mask on is a great saying there. If people want to follow along with what you do or see a bit more of it, what's the best place to?
Well, you're the social media guru. So YouTube, we have New Zealand Food Story.
Yep.
All the series are up there. There's on TVNZ, it's only well, you got international viewers probably.
Yeah.
In New Zealand, only season 4 is up, I think now, which I don't know why, but it's on YouTube. They're all there. Then, you know, probably Instagram is the best for me, Ben Bailey NZ, and then Ahi Restaurant. And you'll find everything there, what we're doing. And we've got lots of exciting things coming up, and another restaurant in September. And we're also trying to give people retail an alternative to supermarkets where they can buy from our producers. Cool. And it's called Gatherly. That's another thing that we're doing. So that's a good story for another day.
Yeah, I'm very excited to learn a little bit more about that. But thanks for coming on today and taking time out of your busy schedule to have a chat.
My pleasure.
It's been a real pleasure for me and a real honour. I'll chuck those links in there. And if anyone listening to this is in Auckland, come along to Ahi and try some of Ben's food. It's really beautiful. But thank you once again.
Mate. You're a good man. Appreciate you.
Thank you.